Come on now. That should do it. Are we working? Can you see and hear me right now? Let's see. Please let me know. All right, excellent. Finally, this is Plan C here. We were planning on going to the Marine Mammal Center in Sausalito, just down the road. Signal there was terrible, unfortunately. But I'd still like to go back sometime and do a stream once we figure some of that stuff out. Do a charity stream, raise some money for that wonderful organization. Then I was going to go to the Bay Model in Sausalito and show you that wonderful piece of engineering. They're closed today. So here we are, Plan C, Golden Gate Bridge, one of the world's most famous landmarks. We're going to go walk across it, so I hope you're ready for that. And background noise is loud. Let me turn down our mic a little bit, see if that helps at all. Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. Let's go walk over there. If it's your first time here, anybody, then this is kind of a bizarre first stream to be joining. But I'm glad you're here. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm here on Twitch trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach. And when you think of the Golden Gate Bridge, your first thought might not be of science, but man, there's going to be a lot to talk about here. Let's see. Pretty good. Thank you. Yeah. So this is my hometown bridge here, and I'm excited to show it off to you. We'll be talking about why it's called the Golden Gate, and stuff like that. We'll be talking about the geography of the bay. We'll be talking about, well, first we're crossing underneath the bridge over here to get to the other side. Just like the proverbial chicken. And the spy is a tree. You can see the old prison from the Golden Gate Bridge. Yes, indeed. You'll be seeing that in a little bit. It's a little bit hazy, but we'll see if it clears up. Okay. And, oh, I went to the wrong side. I'm gonna go walk across over here. Feels kind of weird doing this. I feel like a tourist, you know? I live here, but I figure it'll be fun to show some of the folks who don't live here. All right, here we go. I love that the Golden Gate Bridge is open to pedestrians. I know people who would ride their bicycle across every day to go work in the city. It's a really interesting story, the building of the Golden Gate Bridge as well. We'll talk about that too. Marika says, I've never seen the Golden Gate Bridge this close. I'll put the camera right up to it so you can kiss one of the towers. How's that sound? So right now, we're over here in the Marin Headlands. This is north of San Francisco. And we're going to walk south into the city. We're going to do our best to be courteous as well. Like in here. It's a lot of traffic. Over here. Let's get behind this light pole for a second. And what is that buzzing sound? It's probably going to be the traffic noise, I would imagine. A lot of cars over there. Unless it's an electronic kind of buzzing. But like I said, this is Sausalito right here in the Marin Headlands, north of San Francisco. So any of the buildings that you see over there with the kind of brick red roofs are former US Army buildings. This whole area used to be a military base. And parts of it still are. There was a big missile emplacement up there for the Nike missiles during the Cold War. That's where the Marine Mammal Center was built over. So this has always been a strategically very militarily important area. It's a natural harbor like this. You know, you'd have a lot of commerce, ships coming through. Strategically important in time of warfare. And there used to be gun emplacements all over the place here. Alcatraz Island, see that over there? The famous prison island. We'll get closer as we walk across the bridge a little bit. You'll get a slightly better view. Won't be a fence in the way. And yeah, but Alcatraz was originally used by Anglo folks as a gun emplacement. So there were a bunch of artillery guns that were set up there. The idea was that if any ships came into the harbor, you could have guns trained on them at any given point. You could just blow them out of the water. Later on, in the 20th century, it was turned into a prison. Anyway. And Crimson Carnotaurus wants to know, is there a naval base in San Francisco? Not in San Francisco proper. There used to be. But now I think there's a naval base in Vallejo, which is up there. It used to be the big submarine base in World War II. One of the largest submarine bases in the entire world. Mare Island Naval Shipyards. Right up there in Vallejo. Alright. Whoa! Christ. Can somebody give me a clear answer on whether or not we're getting electronic interference or something like that? I'm just getting fragments in the chat. Somebody type a complete sentence, please. There we go. There's a buzzing, but we can clearly hear you over it. Let me try and turn the camera off and turn it back on. We'll see if that helps. But I'm trying to manage a million different things at once. There's all these clueless tourists on bicycles that are, I don't know, people who probably haven't been on a bike in 30 years, trying to go across these narrow areas, and then you get the commuters who are all crazy, trying to go 30 in a 15 zone. It's a lot going on here. All right. Static is gone. Okay, thank you. Well, excellent. We're going to be approaching the North Tower of the Golden Gate Bridge right here. Yeah, and I think this is the one that's actually built on land, so we'll take a look at that. Anyway, let's go ahead. All right. And I'm going to do my best here to not get hit by a bicycle. This is kind of a narrow choke point over here. That's better. Nice.
And there is gorgeous San Francisco Bay. Just over here. On a particularly clear day, you can see Oakland, you can see the Oakland Hills. And actually, today we can even see the top of Mount Diablo over there. We were talking about Mount Diablo when we were at the Lindsay Wildlife Experience. Let me stop so you can see. But there's Alcatraz Island right there. And if you look up to the horizon and to the left of Alcatraz, you might be able to barely make out the top of a mountain over there. It's much more light colored than the rest of the horizon. That's the tip of Mount Diablo. That's the summit up there. So that's near where I grew up, over in the East Bay. Anyway. Good stuff. Let's continue on. Again, we're approaching the North Tower over here. And if we are extraordinarily lucky, we might even get to see some dolphins. So common dolphins love to hang out right underneath Golden Gate Bridge. This is the fastest flowing part of the bay. It's got the strongest current. You get all of these eddies and whirlpools and stuff like that going on. And yeah, they really like that, evidently. Well, I don't see any bicyclists coming up behind us, which is good. There we go. And Golden Gate Bridge's total length is 8,981 feet. Yeah, so it's over a mile long. At the time that the Golden Gate Bridge was built, this was the longest bridge on the planet. A lot of people said it couldn't be done. Got some tour boats down there. It is lovely sightseeing down there. It's really wonderful. I'm gonna wait here and let some of these bicycles and people pass. And then there's a big tanker ship over there going to exit out into the Pacific Ocean. And then down below us, you see some old structures from the pre-bridge days. There used to be lighthouses and multiple foghorns down there. San Francisco is famous for its fog. And it could be a tremendous hazard to navigation. Take a look. Yeah. Neat. So here we've got the North Tower. So I'm not sure how tall that is. I'm going to say it's about 500 feet. And northbound traffic, southbound traffic. That center divider thing that you see right there is movable.
We might see on the other side, there's these big utility vehicles called zippers.
And so they basically straddle that center divide and they'll push it to either side throughout the day.
In order to open up certain lanes on one side or on the other side to make commuting easier. So during morning rush hour,
that center median gets moved over one lane.
So that there can be, I guess, 5 lanes going in and 2 lanes going out. And then they reverse it in the afternoon. It's really pretty clever how they're able to do that. And that dude, Rick, the humidity here, normal, I'd say. I live here, you know? So this is my standard, my default, you know? This is what I was born into. This is what I'm comfortable in.
See the nets they have down there now.
Anybody who decides to jump, I guess. Not I guess, that's what it's for. Scoot over here, and we're going to keep out of the way of the bicycles. If I'd known I would have been outdoors for multiple hours today, I would have brought my hat with me. But luckily, I had some sunscreen in the car. But check that out. Just gorgeous. Lovely. Oof. I get just a little bit nervous walking over the bridge because it does sway a little bit with all the cars driving by. And when you stand still, you can really feel it. We are high up right now. I think the bridge deck is about, what is it, like 200 feet above, 200 or 300 feet above the surface of the water. It's, we're really up here. Yeah. And the headlands always look so good. Exactly.
So we're looking back north of San Francisco there. You've got the Marin Headlands. Wonderful geology in there. So all of this, like accreted terrain from the Pacific Plate, crunched and twisted and folded.
We could do multiple live streams just looking at the rocks up there. Maybe we'll do that at some point when I get mobile data again.
But it's geological wonderland over there.
You get geology field trips that come from across the West Coast. Up and down the West Coast will come to the Marin Headlands there. See the rocks folded and twisted and crunched. That tectonic action, it's cool stuff.
And Where Ducky says that tanker has a draft height of about 60 feet for scale. Wow.
Although it looks like this one's empty, because it's riding pretty high in the water. So it just must have offloaded all that crude oil at the refineries over in Richmond or Martinez, near where I grew up. I like that. On an oil tanker, they have to have signs that say no smoking.
You'd think that'd go without saying, but I guess not.
Very cool.
And Jake Quartz, there
are islands off the coast of San Francisco, the Farallones. It's not clear enough today to see them,
but they will be out there. I think they're about 20 miles out that way, out in the Pacific. There goes the tanker under the bridge. And there's Sausalito.
We were going to go visit the bay model, show you around there, but it's closed today. So another time, I suppose. It'd be good to be able to clear that with them in advance as well. But yeah.
So sometimes
it's going to be more difficult to see with the net there, but there will be dolphins right underneath the bridge, kind of more toward the midline where the water current is the fastest. Yeah. Anyway, I'll stop and do a quick little... Oh, there we go. Are you going to Fort Point? I don't know, Stuart. We'll see how we're feeling. But we will walk all the way across, I think.
You can see the wake there from that big tanker. And then, oh, I spy a... looks like a harbor seal or a sea lion down there.
Camera's probably not picking it up too well, but I also see some terns. Probably Forster's terns down there.
Lovely seabirds.
Very cool. So just a brief moment to discuss San Francisco Bay. Not only is it a bay, it's an estuary system. So there's some major rivers that empty into the bay here. So you get these, you know, kind of marvelous mixtures of fresh and salt water all throughout this estuary. And it's just constantly changing all the time. It ebbs and flows with the tides. Water is rising and falling during different times of the day. You get fog rolling in and burning off. It's just an extremely dynamic kind of system.
So to give you your bearings there, that's downtown San Francisco with the skyline. Just to the left of there, to the east, is the Bay Bridge. Yerba Buena Island in between. Then that little island is Alcatraz, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with. Some chatters may have actually spent some time there in the 50s and 60s. And then we've got Angel Island over there, which is largely uninhabited. It's kind of a... think of it like a wildlife preserve. It's Angel Island right there. Very few man-made structures on it. And then Sausalito to the north.
Where we walked from. Pretty cool. And Mayor Space's that combo of fresh and saltwater is called brackish. Well, that's almost an oversimplification here. The salinity changes during different times of the day. It changes with the tide. It changes with, you know, the amount of outflow from the Sacramento and Russian rivers. Yeah, much of the water that flows down from the Sierra Nevada goes into San Francisco Bay and then out. See the pyramid building? Yeah, Azix, that is
right over there. The super pointy one is the Transamerica Pyramid, which I believe was finished in 1972.
It has been recently renovated, and they've got all kinds of cool, colorful lights on the outside at night. It's pretty neat.
But that's definitely a San Francisco landmark.
And for decades, it was the tallest building in San Francisco. Until just a few years ago, it might have been like 2017, 2018, they finished the Salesforce Tower, which now holds the title of tallest building in San Francisco. I think tallest building on the West Coast. Of the US, at least. Cosmic says you're right on the San Andreas Fault. Almost. So San Andreas is just over there on the other side of the Marin Headlands, but we're very close to it. Not directly on it, but close. Yeah. And so the reason why we have a fault here is because this is a juncture between the continental North American plate and then the Pacific plates, plural. I think it might be the Juan de Fuca plate here. I'd have to look it up. But this is a major plate boundary. And that's why the geology here is so interesting. Over there in the Marin Headlands, there's all of this oceanic crust that's been shunted up and twisted and gnarled, and it's so cool. We'll have to do a stream there at some point. just take a look at some of that geology, but I need to do some homework first, figure out where the best spots are to take you to. Good stuff. It's funny, walking up here kind of on the edge of the bridge with my phone strapped to my arm makes me nervous, like it's gonna fall down. So there's just like a background anxiety there. I wish I trusted my wrist strap a little bit more. It's not the highest quality, but again, I wasn't planning on doing this today, so we're, you know, life has given us gators, we're trying to make Gatorade, you know? Anyhow, we're about equidistant now between the south and the north tower. And so we're approaching, kind of the low point in the big cable. We've got these massive cables here that hold up the bridge deck. And their lowest point in the middle is roughly equivalent to the center of the bridge. So we're almost halfway across. And any giant waves, Godzilla monsters, or monkeys there? Not yet, but live broadcast, anything can happen. There's these massive cables right here. It's funny, I talk to people sometimes and they're like, oh yeah, that's so pretty, the way that they built the bridge like that. That's all for show, right? They don't realize that these are structural. Like, that's what allows the bridge deck to be held up. So there's basically like a steel pipe, but inside of that, you have these thousands of steel cables. Well, let's wave to the tourists. Got these thousands of steel cables in there, all tightly interwoven. Oh, and take a look at this. A seaplane. You see that right there? Very cool. You can take tours on those. That'd be a neat live stream. But back when I was moving back to California from Montana, I was so homesick. Really wanted to get back here to the Bay Area. And here, we'll rest in the shade here for a second. I found out about the San Francisco seaplane adventures. You get on them right over there in Sausalito. And then at the time, they had one that would go all the way up to Lake Tahoe, would land on the lake, and would let you off there at Tahoe City. And so I had planned to do that at one point. I was going to see if I couldn't afford a ticket or anything, but I was going to ask if I could do some graphic design for them at the time. And then get a trip up there, because that's where my mom was living temporarily. She had moved to a tiny little cabin up there. Oh, and we've got dolphins. Well, well, well. See those down there? How lucky are we? Check out the dolphins. There's another one over there, too. Can you tell what kind? I think they're common dolphins, in case it's no art. I've seen them here many times before. That's where they love to hang out. We'll see if they come back up for air. I don't think those are harbor porpoises. I'm pretty sure they're common dolphins. They look bigger than porpoises. But we'll see if they come back. But this is actually where they breed. For some reason, they really like the strong currents and all those eddies and whirlpools and everything. Something about that just gets them excited. So this is like their favorite place to breed. I don't think this is breeding season right now. I think I saw a mother and a calf down there. But we'll see if they come back up. And there you go, Crimson Carnotaurus, yeah.
Yeah, there's a little guy over there. That might be a sea lion.
Let's see if the dolphins come back. And Alcatraz Island looks smaller than I thought it was. It's not very big.
Yeah, Alcatraz is, it's not a large island at all.
One of the reasons why it was eventually shut down as a prison, it was just too expensive to maintain. They didn't have enough space there for really storing a lot of stuff. They had to bring water in by boat in order to help run the place. It's a tiny little island. In Casey Snowhart, I see live dolphins all the time out here. I used to see them almost every day back when I was teaching in San Francisco.
Oh, there's one over there. Just saw it poke its dorsal fin up. Anyway.
They're not really showing off today. Sometimes they'll be leaping and flying through the air, with full body breaching out of the water. Doesn't look like they're doing that right now. We're going to continue on. Oh, very cool, Claire Bear. Oh, it's always magical when you spot some marine mammals. At my old apartment, when I lived right there on like the shore of Oakland, by the tidal estuary, I would see harbor seals maybe once a week, and even the occasional sea lion, just like a block from my apartment. And then on the non-mammal side, I'd see bat rays and salmon. Yeah, even the occasional leopard shark. I never actually saw a leopard shark, but they were spotted in that area, and they've been photographed right by the Fruitvale Bridge. Anyway, that's just to say there's a lot of really cool marine wildlife here in the Bay Area. There we are, getting a little bit closer to the city now.
Beautiful sunny day.
And here you can actually see that like churning and mixing of the water down there in the bay.
So you've got that kind of greenish, cloudy stuff over there, and then you've got this much darker over here. And this will be constantly changing throughout the day as the tide goes in and out.
It's a super dynamic kind of environment. Home to all kinds of different critters, including several species of large shark. You get 7-gill sharks and soup fin sharks there, leopard sharks like I said, I think maybe the occasional nurse shark, and then even white sharks, Carcharodon carcharias. They've also been observed in the bay. And we'll probably see more and more of them. Oh, there's a sea lion down there too.
We'll be seeing more and more of these guys
as temperatures continue to rise. It used to be you'd only get big sharks like that this far north during El Nino years, but they're becoming more and more common. Yeah, there's a sea lion down there. See him? Two sea lions. Very cool. Actually, the one that one's lying on its back, it almost looks like a sea otter, but I don't think it is. Sea otters haven't been spotted in San Francisco Bay for like well over a century. That can't be a sea otter. It's got to be a sea lion, right? It could also potentially be a log. Let's try and get a little closer.
where'd it go?
Well, if it's disappeared, that implies that it's not a log.
There's some pinnipeds down there. I'm guessing probably sea lions. Yeah, look at those big pectoral fins. Those are sea lions there.
And the other one has disappeared. Huh.
Yeah. Look at the sea lion down there. You can barely spot him. Right down there. There's two of them. Yeah.
Okay, I am much more comfortable now saying that it was a sea lion that we spotted and not a sea otter. That would have been, you know, headline news.
Sea lion's much more common in this area. And there's a gigantic
Rookery of them over at Pier 39. We've actually looked at them in a previous stream years ago. I think it was 2021.
There's 3 of them down there. No, there's 4. 5. Oh, and there's a 6th. Very cool. A 7th one there. It's interesting that they're hanging out in this kind of gray, cloudy area.
This might be more organic rich. There might be more fish for them to eat in there.
Very cool. I hope you can spot them. I know this camera doesn't have a zoom on it. It's not great at long distance stuff, but hopefully you can see those kind of brown objects in the water. Those are indeed California sea lions. Xylophus californianus. Yeah. Very cool.
Very, very cool.
Big old gaggle of bicyclists over here. I'm gonna shelter behind this pole.
Let them go by. And TMK, you can ask me questions directly, you know. I'm not using a phone app or a GoPro. This is a Sony Action Cam on a little handheld selfie stick thing with an external mic and then a live view encoder right there. It's an elaborate setup. There we go.
All right, do you see those now? Sea lions. And look, you can see the whirlpools down there too. These eddies and currents just churning around one another. Oh, and there's a dolphin. Or it could have been a harbor porpoise. It's kind of small. I see a harbor seal as well. That gray coloration. The hind fin's kind of trailing behind it like that. That's a harbor seal. There's at least 2, those look like, they look like dolphins, yeah. 2 dolphins down there. Yeah. Very cool. So wow, we've got 3 different species of marine mammal right there in front of us. Harbor seals, sea lions, common dolphins. Awesome.
How cool is that? How lucky are we? Holy moly. Very cool. Anyway, even though we didn't get to stream from the Marine Mammal Center, we'll try and go back another time, figure out something about the signal. Even though we couldn't do that today, still got to see some marine mammals in the wild. Very lucky. Approaching the south tower of the bridge. So the reason why this is so crowded right now is because they've got the other pedestrian area closed right now. I'm not sure why, but that's why traffic is twice as heavy as it should be. So that is where I used to work. San Francisco's Presidio. It is, strictly speaking, a national park. Once a U.S. Army base. It is now a place for recreation and relaxation and education. That's where I used to teach kiddos every weekday. In the Presidio over there. You know? People like to make a big deal about Central Park in New York, and I always think that's pretty funny because it is much, much smaller than Golden Gate Park or the Presidio. Either one is like easily twice as big as Central Park in New York. It doesn't even have an ocean to speak of, unlike Golden Gate Park and the Presidio. So we're gonna go walk toward that area, and maybe we'll even go up on the other side, take a look at the ocean. We've got time. This is great. Here is South Tower. So this is the one that's actually built on the water, essentially. They had to drop down these massive pylons. And it was a huge, feat of engineering to be able to do that. I think that had been the first time it had really been attempted on a grand scale, sinking these massive pylons down into the floor of the bay. And there we go. I love the signage here. Golden Gate Bridge. So I think people today kind of take it for granted, but back in the 1930s when the bridge was erected, it was a marvel of engineering. Massive, human accomplishment. Many people thought it couldn't be built. And there were definitely some travails along the way. because of the really heavy fog that we get here in San Francisco, construction could be really hazardous. And on a number of occasions, there were, like ships that actually ran into some of the big piers that were built here during the construction of the bridge. And that halted construction for a while. So you just get this extremely thick fog that makes navigation almost impossible. And that thick fog, the ocean air, also pose a big challenge for maintaining the bridge. So you get really dramatic oxidation. These things just rust and rust and rust. So maybe some of you have read before that the bridge is constantly being painted. There's a crew that works at one side of the bridge and they just slowly make their way across, painting and painting, and then they start over again. And that's pretty close to the truth. I don't know if it's exactly that fashion, where they go from one side to the other side and then they start over, but it is a constant battle to keep the bridge painted in order to keep it from rusting in the salt air and the fog. Very cool. Those are rivets, if anybody was wondering. So these riveted construction here, which is a lot stronger than welds would be, or at least they were at the time. I'm not sure what the current state of welding versus riveting is, but as you can see, this side hasn't been painted recently. Paint's starting to slough off a little bit. But I'm sure they'll come back and do that at some point. Probably very soon. Alright, trying to stay out of the way of bicyclists here. It must be nice to have that kind of job security. There you go, Reiko, yeah. Although, that being said... Oh, this is a tuk-tuk. Those three-wheeled vehicles like that. That's neat. That being said, San Francisco fog is diminishing. As global temperatures increase, that famous fog of San Francisco is becoming less and less prevalent. We're not sure exactly why, but it probably has something to do with just the heating of ocean temperatures, around the mouth of San Francisco Bay. Because normally what would cause the fog would be hot air coming off of the Central Valley to the east. That moves west and then it mixes with the cold ocean air and you get fog. But as the ocean air, increases in temperature along with the ocean water, you don't get as much fog. Does that make sense? I think that's the working hypothesis, but I'm sure it's, there's going to be a lot of nuance and a lot of details in there that I'm not privy to. And SB Arkin says, what's going to happen to the big trees? Well, yeah, the coast redwood trees, Sequoia sempervirens, that are there on the north side of San Francisco, across the bay. Like Muir Woods, it's giant redwood trees. Have you ever seen the film Return of the Jedi? Forest Moon of Endor, that's where it was filmed. Those massive redwood trees. And they get a lot of their, the majority of their moisture from that fog. So they evolved specially to be able to just take that fog straight out of the air. And as the fog decreases, those trees are going to have a hard time. It's distressing to think about. But these are the things that, that climatologists, researchers, scientists in general, these are the things that we think about all the time, Anywho, let's continue, shall we? Back toward San Francisco. There we go. So that red color of the bridge is world famous, and it was kind of a fluke. There's an interesting story behind it. This classic red. Strictly speaking, the official name for the color is International Orange. It's kind of similar to the orange that like astronauts would have on their suits. Yeah, or like rescue helicopters. Coast Guard uses international orange a lot. This is a much more reddish hue of international orange. But it wasn't originally planned this way. When the Golden Gate Bridge was being built, they were trying to figure out how to best make it visible in dense fog so that ships and planes wouldn't run into it. And so there were a number of pretty wacky solutions that they came up with. One of them was just black and yellow stripes, almost like a bumblebee or something. Another one was to make it like lime green. And they were testing all of these different paint schemes to try and figure out which would be the safest. And this is while the bridge is being built. They didn't have a plan in place for how to paint it exactly. But then, as it was being built, certain components of the bridge had this primer paint on it. And it was this really lovely red color like this kind of reddish international orange. And the people of San Francisco loved that color so much that they eventually decided to just keep it, paint the entire bridge that color. And it was a stroke of genius, or luck, however you want to look at it. It's really nice how it worked out, because it complements the natural geography of the region so well. You get these hills in the Marin Headlands that are kind of a vibrant, lush green after the rain, and then they turn into this lovely golden brown in the summer as things dry out. And that works with the red color so well. I think it's one of the reasons why this bridge is so beloved, is because of that color. And as a bonus, that red actually cuts through the fog pretty well too. So when it is really, really socked in with fog, that red color, something about the way that it light responds to it, it's just more visible than a lot of other colors, than like a gray would be, you know? And Casey Snowart says, I did always find the name and color confusing as a kid. Oh, I haven't talked about that yet. Here, let me explain that. The reason why the Golden Gate Bridge is red is because Golden Gate, that name predates the bridge. That's not really the name of the bridge, it's the name of the Golden Gate Strait. So this opening right here into San Francisco Bay and into the estuary was called the Golden Gate long before anybody ever dreamed of a bridge. It was called the Golden Gate because this is a gateway to gold country during the gold rush. Does that make sense? So it's kind of a marketing term to get people to come here, you know? If you're somebody living on the miserable East Coast, working some job that you hate, and you dream of going to a far-off sunny place where the streets are paved with gold. So I'm going to go cross into that Golden Gate, this thing that I've heard about and read about and people are talking about. It was essentially a marketing term. And Salamander, oh, I'm sorry. You gotta admit, though, that people were pretty miserable back then along the eastern seaboard of the United States. And then they'd get here, and they'd be equally miserable, but at least it's sunny, you know? No, a lot of these, like, gold mining towns, San Francisco in its early days was, temper my language, kind of a heck hole, I guess you could say. But, I don't know, that's because that's the town that people built. In terms of the natural geography, though, it's just, it's hard to beat. One of the most beautiful places in the world, in my opinion. So down here is, I think that's Fort Point, if I'm remembering correctly. There's so many different forts in this area. They're all military forts from long ago.
And we did a stream from there at one point, and I've shot some videos down there as well. You also have the Palace of Fine Arts over there too.
Which we'll see how close we can get. But people say that was the inspiration for the planet Naboo in Star Wars. I don't know if that's actually been officially confirmed.
Yeah. And then you even get surfers down here sometimes during certain times of the day when the tide is correct.
You get surfers right underneath San Francisco, right underneath the Golden Gate Bridge there. I don't think they're there right now. I don't think the tide is correct. But it's pretty cool to be able to watch them. And like, what an incredible place to surf, you know? Amazing. There we go. Yeah. And here we are in San Francisco. I love that when you come in from the north, across the Golden Gate Bridge, you just get this lovely forested area in the San Francisco Presidio. You know, when people think of San Francisco, they think of either like the downtown with all the tech companies and the tall buildings, or they think of the bridge, or they think of like Haight-Ashbury. I think this is surprising for a lot of folks who come here for the first time to just see forest here
On the north side of the city. The Presidio is magical, Stuart, absolutely.
I should know, I worked there for several years. One of the most beautiful places in the world I could have hoped for as a workspace, you know? Bicycle path and pedestrian path. What we're going to try and do is go walk under the bridge and go over to the Pacific Ocean side. There we go. Golden Gate Bridge, San Francisco. Lovely. How long did it take me to cross? I don't know, about half an hour maybe? We kept stopping though, so probably longer. It's about a mile and a half across. If a mile is 5,280 feet, then I think the bridge is something like 8,900 feet long. And we've got some neat public exhibits over here, talking about the construction of the bridge. You know what, we'll do this. We'll do it now. We're going to jump across and look at the beach and the Pacific Ocean in a minute.
Check this out. I love these historical photographs of the construction of Golden Gate Bridge. So this is what I was talking about here, where the South Tower is not built on land. It's built out in the middle of the Golden Gate Strait.
And so getting that built was a tremendous undertaking. Just people thought it couldn't be done. And there were a lot of hiccups along the way, like
during like a dense fog one day, there was a ship that just smashed into that pier and just destroyed it.
And it took a while to rebuild it, kind of, you know, really cut into the schedule there. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, my great-grandfather apparently helped build the Golden Gate Bridge. He was like a master mold maker. So like building these molds for some of the concrete structures in here. He did that. I have some of his old metal calipers. And sometimes those go up on my my office wall during streams. But those are the real deal. Yeah, bridge construction began in 1933 in the midst of the Great Depression. This was a jobs program. You know, And they had to fight to make this happen. The companies that ran the ferry boats were not happy. They kept trying to get the program shut down because they were making a fortune ferrying people across. But the area needed a bridge, and thankfully that's what happened. The unemployment rate during the Great Depression was 25%, and jobs were much sought after. With the exception of highly specialized jobs, the bridge was built by local labor. Besides the pay, the men working on the bridge had a special incentive. They knew they were building more than just another bridge. This is going to be one of the greatest works of modern engineering. The weather was often cold, windy, and foggy. Work had to go on inside cramped spaces. Climbing up and walking high atop the bridge was as dangerous as it was scary. Safety was a priority. Workers wore helmets, special wind goggles, and headlamps for the dark, enclosed areas. A first in bridge construction. Many of this stuff was like, there's so many firsts here. Cutting-edge safety stuff. Today, you know, it might look dangerous to us, but this was, you know, the forefront of workplace safety at the time. The undercoat of paint, the primer, contained lead to prevent the steel from rusting. Workers wore respirators to protect them from lead fumes released during the installation of red-hot rivets. Today, the paints used on the bridge contain no lead, thankfully. Another first in bridge building was the installation of a safety net during construction. The 19 men who fell and were saved by the net called themselves the Halfway to Hell Club. The bridge had only one fatality until February of 1937. Then a heavy scaffold fell through the net, causing 10 men to fall to their deaths. Although tragic, the number of lives lost was very low compared to the size of the project and the dangers involved. Really impressive. I don't know, it's just more reason to be proud of this incredible landmark. It's, that's pretty neat. And these were the world's tallest bridge towers at the time. 746 feet tall. Yeah. The tallest bridge towers in the world when the bridge was completed in 1937. They were constructed by lifting prefabricated steel sections into place. I've watched documentaries about the construction of the bridge, and they're so fascinating. Yeah. And the design process is really interesting, too. So this was an original concept, dubbed ugly by the local press. It called for heavy-looking cantilevered structures jutting out from the towers. I think it does look really ugly. Compare that to, you know, the finished bridge today. Just elegant in its simplicity, but it's got a lot of interesting design features as well. You've got this lovely kind of Art Deco theming on it. You can see the South Tower over there. That was characteristic at the time, so it just, that would have looked extremely modern back in the 1930s. Today, it just looks classic, timeless. It's kind of a hallmark of really good design. And this is neat. It's a lovely, like, kinetic demonstration of how the suspension cables can hold up the bridge deck. Really neat. So it says pulley trope to find the relationship between cable tension and tower height. The more tension, the thicker, stronger the cable must be. Interesting. So I'm not an engineer. So this sort of thing is obviously not my specialty, but I find it really fascinating. The calculations that you have to do, so you're figuring out different ratios of like sag depth to total length, the amount of tension, the thickness of the cables, all that stuff. Yeah, so this design here, its suspension bridge must have thinner cables because there is less tension, but it must have taller towers. For higher tension, you have shorter towers, but larger diameter cables. Neat. Cool stuff. You can look at that here. Pulling on these. Super cool. The decks all weigh the same amount, but the towers are different heights. Feel the difference in how hard you have to pull to hold up the decks. Okay, let's try this one. Yeah, with taller towers, I guess we've got a longer lever arm, so it doesn't feel as heavy. Interesting how that works. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Oh, there's that seaplane again. Flying between the bridge towers. Nice. Very cool. It's neat how many different design problems they had to solve in order to be able to create the Golden Gate Bridge. It really is a marvel of engineering. And it's being continuously improved, too. There was a major seismic retrofit that just finished up, I think, last year or earlier this year. And that had been going on for like a decade or more, if I remember correctly. There's another interesting thing. There's these metal slats along the pedestrian sections of the bridge up there on either side. There's metal slats right there, and when the wind hits them at just the right speed, they sing. It's a really eerie kind of sound, but I used to hear it all the time when I worked here in the Presidio. You know, you just be out there walking through the woods, and then you hear this almost like a whale singing, like a... And that was the wind whistling through those slats. They knew it would do that when they built it, but that was just the right design for the slats in order to provide the least amount of wind resistance, so the bridge wouldn't sway as much. But I guess, kind of a side effect of that is you get the sound. Fascinating stuff. Hey, Kodishibi, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. All right. There's Alcatraz Island over there again. And there's Fort Point down there. So it's a Civil War era army fort. And you can see a little lighthouse on top of it too. Let's go by. If anybody's seen the film Vertigo, one of Hitchcock's best films, there's a pivotal scene that takes place right there. Hey, Verity, how are you doing? Good to see you. Welcome to my hometown, Golden Gate Bridge. We were going to do a stream from the Marine Mammal Center today, but unfortunately, the signal there was terrible. So it was just completely unworkable. So we came here. And I'm glad you're... And Wasted Twitch says, bro, why do you always stream in such quality? What do you mean? Bad quality? Good quality? Is that a compliment or a complaint? I can't tell. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Why don't I do a little intro while we're here in front of such a wonderful landmark. If you're here for the very first time, welcome. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. This is where I live, in the San Francisco Bay Area. We don't have a lot of dinosaurs here in the Bay Area, but this is where I was born and raised, and after I lived in Montana studying dinosaurs and learning to be a dinosaur paleontologist and everything, I moved back here because I just missed it so much. During the summers, I go out to places like Wyoming and Utah, and we dig up dinosaurs live on stream. But with autumn quickly approaching, there's going to be snow on the ground out there, so I'm back home. We're going to be doing a bunch of office streams, talking about new fossil discoveries, answering viewer questions, doing interviews with other paleontologists, all that good stuff in the coming months until it's time for fieldwork again next summer. For now, we're just enjoying the Golden Gate Bridge and using up the last of our mobile data. I think it runs out tomorrow, so we're trying to make the most of it before that all goes away. Anyway, and yeah, Fort Point indeed, mother of cats. Yeah. But yeah. Anywho, let's continue. We're gonna walk over here toward the Pacific Ocean. So we went over the Golden Gate Bridge, now we're gonna go under it again. Look at that. Just gorgeous. And Peppercat says, why is fieldwork only done in the summer? There's a number of reasons for that. Well, the first is there's no snow on the ground during the summer. If you go anywhere between November and May, there might be snow everywhere, and you can't really dig in the snow. It just doesn't work. But the other major thing is the academic calendar. So when we're out doing fieldwork, we rely on a lot of volunteer labor. And so most of those volunteers are students. And many of the people who aren't volunteers, if they're they work for the museum or something like that, then they have to teach during the fall and winter and spring. Summer is when everybody has the time off, so that's the time to dig. Even though it's the hottest time of the year, that's often the only time that we have for actual excavations, Does that make sense? Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. Next, go through the bridge. I don't know about that. Well, this is pretty cool. Seismic retrofits and historic preservation. Much has been learned about earthquake engineering since the bridge was designed and built in the 30s. Today, mathematical analysis techniques help calculate how a structure will perform when subjected to various levels of ground shaking. In addition, physical tests are run on specimens that represent portions of the structure. Comparing and validating mathematical analysis with test results is a standard engineering method. And, oh, this is cool. So they were doing major retrofits in here. I think they're pretty much finished now. They still have some scaffolding up there. But this was huge. And I guess this is one of those specimens they were talking about. It's like an exact replica of the real thing. They apply enough stress to it and see where it fails. There we go. That must have been a tremendous amount of force to get it to do that. Holy cow. Yeah. Anywho. The reason why that sort of testing is so necessary is because of geology, because we live on a dynamic planet where the continental plates are scooching around each other and bumping into each other and subducting and... Anyway, plate tectonics. Earth's crust is broken up into about a dozen large sections called plates. These plates move up the continents and seafloor. They make up the continents and seafloor, sorry. They move slowly but steadily over millions of years. So we are right here. There is San Francisco, right there on the map. And this is the San Andreas Fault. So when I was saying that San Andreas Fault was just over there, I wasn't lying. Here's a diagram showing you that. So the Pacific Plate is moving north, and the North American Plate is moving south. Eventually, tens of millions of years from now, what is today Los Angeles will be shunted north, and it'll just kind of get scraped along the side of California like that. But thankfully, it's a pretty slow process most of the time. Sometimes there's a jolt of sudden activity, and that's an earthquake. As these plates are sliding past one another, they might get snagged for a little bit, and then there's a sudden release. That's why you get earthquakes like that. Anyway, they move at a rate of about 1 mile every 40,000 years, it says. Pretty neat. So if this geologic movement is played backwards, going back about 15 million years, the Farallon Islands would be located in southern California. Today they're right here. So on a very clear day you can actually see them out there. Probably not today. But those used to be way down south off the coast of LA. It's pretty cool. And there is the Grand Pacific Ocean. Largest in the world. To the extent that different oceans are different. They all kind of run together. But, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Good stuff. So, yeah, the Farallons should be right out there. It's too hazy today to see. Too much evaporation. Too much fog out there. Yeah. The deepest part of San Francisco Bay is just here underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. I think it's something like 300 or 400 feet deep. But on average, San Francisco Bay is pretty shallow. I think it averages about 4 or 5 feet. If we're taking the whole thing into consideration. So down here will be some beaches that I used to work at. Marshall's Beach and Baker Beach are right down here. Some of the previously recorded Danny videos were shot right down there at Baker Beach. Yeah. We'll go up there a little bit. Maybe we'll see some old gun emplacements. Those big coastal defense guns. Look at this. This is one of these lovely coastal trees that we get. I think they're Monterey pines. We've got Monterey pines and Monterey cypress here, and I always get them mixed up. That's one of them there. I think it's Monterey pine. It's your classic Pacific Coast conifer there. You gotta love it. And yeah, fighting the wind does make the trees twisty. Yes, indeed. It's, these are pretty resilient plants to be able to survive here. So many of these are natives, and they're specially evolved to deal with the high salinity, all the salt in the air, and to deal with the poor quality soils here too. So much of this substrate that they're growing on is, very, very low in nutrients. Because it's just like oceanic crust that's been shunted up here. There's not a lot of nutrition to be gained from that. These are very hardy plants. They're able to survive here. And then some days, when you get really lucky, you've got these birds of prey that swoop right overhead here. There's a big population of red-shouldered hawks. Not red-tailed hawks, red-shouldered hawks that call this area home. I think it might be the greatest population density anywhere in North America of red-shouldered hawks. Right here in the Presidio of San Francisco. But I used to see them all the time. Unlike red-tailed hawks, these guys prefer more forested environments, and they like to be near water. They'll eat a lot of frogs and snakes and stuff like that. Red-shouldered hawks are really cool. Let's see here. Do we get any mangroves out on the left coast? Not this far north. I think you gotta go further south. Probably down to Mexico before you start getting mangroves, I would imagine. We used to have them here during the Eocene. Remember when we were visiting the San Diego Museum of Natural History? They had fossil mangroves there from about 50 million years ago, when the climate was a lot warmer and wetter too. But up here, so in the Pacific Ocean here, it's much colder than you would probably expect, especially given how warm, this area is on land. That's because you've got those cold Arctic waters coming down from the north. So yeah, the water's pretty darn cold. A lot of the surfers here use wetsuits. That's kind of a necessary thing, unless you really, really like cold water. A wetsuit is, I think, a necessity for surfing. Yeah, and thank you, Keep Fleep. I appreciate that. Yeah, Nerduino, how are you doing? Good to see you. Welcome to San Francisco. Let's see. TMK says, you mean dry suit? I don't know. I don't know the difference between a wetsuit and a dry suit, to be honest. It sounds like it should be obvious, but it's probably not. Yeah. And Grubel says, any orca whales? None that I've seen. Although many times along here I've seen humpbacks and gray whales. This might be the wrong time of year for them. Yeah, I've seen them right up by Baker Beach before. It was kind of shocking, actually. I was just out walking there one morning, and then this big grayback just goes right there. It looked like it was only maybe 10 or 15 feet from the beach. There must be a pretty steep drop-off there, where the water must get pretty deep pretty fast. But there was a whale just swimming right there past the beach. Anyway, these big concrete structures that we have right here, were World War II or earlier. So these are big coastal gun emplacements. These gigantic, like, super high caliber shells meant for destroying battleships or what have you. The structures are still here. Yeah. And Marina says, wetsuit you undressed to wear it. Okay, they're definitely wetsuits then. Because you'll see surfers doing that little dance where they, like, change into the wetsuit, but, like, with a towel over their lower half. It's funny, like, trying to, I don't know. There's a lot of ingenuity, you know, when you're trying not to exhibit public nudity in a parking lot when you're trying to go surfing. Yeah, some clever folks. Yeah. And Peppercat says, my toddler heard your voice on my phone and requested to watch you on the TV. Well. Shout out to your toddler, Peppercat. That warms my heart. Hope you're having a good day. This makes me a little bit sad. We've got all this invasive English ivy here. Not native to this area, but it is a big problem in the Presidio. That, and you get those ice plants that were imported from South Africa as well. They're really kind of taken over some of these spots. Yeah, I really wish that the Presidio had more funding so that they could tackle these problems more readily. But here, take a look at this too. We've got a spider web. Beautiful spider web here. A lovely spider right in the center. Just hanging out. Got her legs all tucked in, out of the wind. Nice. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, we'll go up a little bit further, and I want to show you this vista. Some more Monterey pines up there. And Ferret Fawcett, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're here. Welcome back. Another big concrete structure here. Down by Baker Beach, at that bunker, they still have some of the big coastal guns there, and they are enormous. These things are like 30 feet long. They're like a couple feet across. Biggest guns I've ever seen. Let's go up here. See if we can go a little higher. Oh, yeah, and there's one of the bases for the West Coastal Guns. There we go. Ladder. There we are. We've got a white-crowned sparrow right there. Hello, white-crowned sparrow. One of the things that I really love about the Presidio is you get a lot of birds that are very rare in the rest of the Bay Area that are very, very common here because you have so much more or less natural habitat for them. I'm not going to call it undisturbed, but it's at least less disturbed than you have in more developed areas. So you'll get white-crowned sparrows and chipping sparrows. You'll get chestnut-backed chickadees, and you'll get these like tufted titmice, and you'll get the ruby-crowned kinglets. I've not seen anywhere else in the Bay Area, but I've seen them many times here in the Presidio.
An Atari X head. So the Nike missile silos are over there. That's where we tried to stream from earlier, from the Marine Mammal Center, which is over in Sausalito. That's on the site of the old Nike missile bases. There's also some over in Richmond, California, and in the Berkeley Hills. These, I don't think these were Nike missile silos. These are older. These big, like, coastal gun emplacements. And there's the big base where you can have a gun swivel on right there. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Were the Adidas missile silos? I don't know, they didn't have a sponsorship deal, you know? Yeah. The mighty Pacific Ocean. Part of me does miss working here a little bit, you know? If you gotta go to a day job anywhere, outside in the San Francisco Presidio is pretty wonderful.
Spared no expense.
There's so many cool birds here. And we've got some cool birds down there as well. I don't know if you could see on those rocks, but they're just covered with cormorants. Probably double-crested cormorants. Yeah. Just lovely. We'll go a little bit further, I think, and then we'll head back across the bridge. I like cormorants too, Mayor Space. They're such cool birds. Responsible for so many different Loch Ness Monster sightings over the years. Okay. Yeah, it's difficult to climb down a ladder one-handed with all the streaming gear hanging off you. Alright. And there's the inside of the bunker in there. We'll go up this way. We'll see what we can see. This is Battery Buteau here, 1901 and 1917. 5-inch pillar-mounted rifles. 5 inches must be the diameter of the actual barrel. Or maybe the diameter of the barrel aperture. That's a huge projectile. Something could take out like a warship. Filmcat says, what's behind the green doors? The inside of the we can't go in. Sorry. Wouldn't be able to get signal in there anyway. I could hear a foghorn over there too. You'll have more of them going off. They'll be louder when it's actually foggy. But I think they have some that sound just during the day when there's no fog too. I'm sure there's a whole lore, a set of guidelines, everything else. Oh, we've got some people up here with spotting scopes. What are they looking at, I wonder? I wonder if there's some sort of rare bird. Very cool. Maybe we'll go up and talk to him. Hey there. Let's see.
Let's just ask what's going on.
Take care.
Oh, anything particularly exciting? In the birding world? Yeah. I've seen ruby crown kinglets around here a bunch. I've never seen them anywhere else in the Bay Area, but I'm not a super avid birder, so. Yeah.
Golden crowns just came out over the weekend. Golden crown kinglets.
Oh, really? I've never seen one of them before.
They've been squeaking back here in the cypress. They're super tough to see.
Oh, yeah.
Tiny and they stay.
Uh-huh.
Crawl around in between them. Some ibis coming out of the ocean.
Really?
Flocks of white-fronted geese.
Wow. Very cool.
Really quiet. You've got some hawks coming in.
Uh-huh.
Just had a dark morph Broadway hawk flying.
Really? I've never seen one of those. Wow. Someone told me once that the Presidio has got the highest population density of red-shouldered hawks anywhere in North America, but
I don't know my stats, but there's
yeah. I used to work here, and I see them every single day all over the place. Yeah.
Just had 4 flying at once all southbound.
Oh, very cool. Uh-huh.
Calling and flying around the islands.
Awesome.
But I don't know about densities. It makes sense though.
Yeah. Cool. Anyway, good luck. Thanks for talking with us. Yeah. Very cool. And there you go, Paleontologizing. Yeah. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Wow. Just gorgeous. I know this wasn't our plan for today, but I'm really glad that this worked out. Kind of needed this for me too, you know. Been so busy with so many things lately that I haven't had much opportunity just for walking around in nature and kind of recharging that way. So it's lovely to be able to do that today, you know. And if we can turn that into a live stream, all the better. Bring along 329 people for the ride. Gotta touch the grass. There you go, Verity. Yeah. I always thought that was kind of a funny phrase, touch grass. Because to me, grass is usually something artificial. Something, you know, human cultivated. You know, I'll touch ferns. I'll touch cycads. Maybe some native grasses. Or some ocean water. Yeah. And we did see some marine mammals from a great height. It's true, Beats International. I hope that they were discernible. Apologies to anybody watching on their phone. Seeing the dolphins under the Golden Gate Bridge must have been ontogeny. That must have been frustrating not seeing them, so I apologize for that. But there's not much I can do to get closer when we're, you know, 200 feet above water surface on the deck of the Golden Gate Bridge. Anyway, we've got some hazardous cliffs. And, yeah, because this is a very dynamic environment. The rock underneath us is pretty brittle, so a lot of this is going to be what we call serpentinite or serpentine, depending on who you ask. That's our state rock here in California. And it's just this complex, mushed up, scrunched up melange of like oceanic crust and stuff like that. It's been molded and warped and twisted and scrunged by tectonic action. Anyway, as a result, it's pretty brittle. Well, we've got a raven down there. 2 ravens. At one point, I'd made friends with the ravens down at Baker Beach. And they'd come over and say hello every day, and then I'd throw them some peanuts. And we got what looks like maybe a swallowtail butterfly. Somebody's black and yellow over there. I don't know if you can see it. Right there on that bush. Anyway, that serpentinite, those local rocks, they make for a really interesting basis for a whole ecosystem here. So you get a lot of plants that don't grow anywhere else except right here around San Francisco. And you get butterflies coming to feed on those plants, visit the flowers. There's actually a really sad story about a really lovely blue species of butterfly called the Xerxes blue that only lived here in San Francisco, among these coastal dunes. Much of the city of San Francisco is built on sand dunes. What's not built on the serpentinite rock is usually built on sand dunes. And there were a few species of flowering plant that really only grew there on the dunes, and these butterflies, the Xerxes blue, evolved specially to feed on those. And with more and more development, with more of these sand dunes being paved over, they were driven out of their habitat and they went extinct. I think the last one was seen in like the 1940s. But it's really a tragic story. There are efforts underway to try and bring them back by modifying some of the closely related species of butterfly, but who knows if that'll work or if that project will even see proper funding. But every time you lose a species like that, it's I don't know, things that human beings do to our surroundings, creatures that we cohabit this planet with. Anywho, there's a conservation society called the Xerxes Society, named after the Xerxes blue butterfly. Oh, and we've got another bird over there. Who is that? Little brown bird? Not sure who that is. Doesn't look like a house sparrow. Looks like something cooler. No offense to house sparrows. It is a beautiful view, isn't it? I love it when it's just partially socked in with fog. It's one of my favorite things to do on my lunch breaks when I worked here, is just walk to a spot where I could get a clear view of the bridge and then just watch the fog drift past it, going between those suspension cables. The view is just constantly changing, you know? It's like a screensaver that never gets old. Something pretty magical about that. Sea cliffs down there. So Marshall's Beach is going to be just below us. We're not going to go there because it has a reputation for being a nude beach. I'm trying to avoid TOS here. And then you've got Baker Beach further down over there. So that's where I used to work for a few months out of the year, was at Baker Beach. When I was teaching TK. TK is like between pre-K and kindergarten. We used to spend about a month there in the fall and about a month there in the spring each year. Did that for 2 years. And that's lovely. That's where I shot that video too with The Foghorn by Ray Bradbury. That's where I shot that from. It's from the hills just above Baker Beach over there. Yeah. Yeah. An Atari X-Head game consular QATS says, monarch butterflies are recently taking off the European endangered list. That's wonderful to hear. Our monarchs here in North America are not doing so hot. For a number of different reasons. But I'm going to be seeing if I can plant some milkweed in the yard by my house either this fall or next spring, or maybe over the winter, I don't know, when I have time and when I've got the money for that. I'm going to plant a bunch of milkweed and see if I can make that like a little way station for monarchs to be able to come by and feed and lay their eggs and help them along that migration corridor. Because they have this massive migration that goes from up in North America down through the U.S. and then into Mexico. Yeah, I guess that's where they breed. Anywho, I guess you might have a few that don't do the whole migration route, and those are the ones we're trying to help out by planting milkweed in the Bay Area. Yeah. And people need more native flowers in their gardens and less grass. Absolutely, Joe Wingy. I hope to be tearing out some of the grass and weeds and invasive plants in favor of, more native species. What we're going to do now We're going to say goodbye to the Pacific Ocean. And we're going to go walk in the other direction down toward Crissy Field a little bit. And then we'll walk back across the bridge and we'll wrap things up. So it'll be probably a couple hours at this point. Oh man, it's already 1 o'clock. Alright, I might want to make it quicker than that actually. Because I'd prefer not to be caught in rush hour traffic on the way home. And we've already been going for an hour and 48 minutes at this point. Not bad. Yeah. And they breed along the way. We get monarch caterpillars. They're cool, Anina. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with how that works, population-wise, with monarchs. Yeah. And it is pretty warm today, absolutely. Yes. Eddie Scarn says, what's the creepiest bird sound in your opinion? Oh, shoot. Some species of like screech owl can sound really, really eerie at night when it's just totally silent in the woods and then just ear-splitting shriek from a screech owl. That would probably be top of my list. Yeah. Is that a good enough answer for you? I hope so. I don't know. I'm generally not creeped out by birds, though. I've met a lot of people who are just downright afraid of birds. I've never understood that. I think they're such marvelous animals. And they're living dinosaurs. Maybe it has something to do with that, actually. Yeah. And barn owls are, yeah, in general, can pretty disconcerting vocalizations. I think that's fair to say. I don't think we're disparaging owls by saying that. Australian bustard. There you go, Casey Snowhart. Yeah. I actually need to be, at some point, making some sound effects for Velia. I'll be taking some different bird calls, and slowing them down, lowering the pitch, all that good stuff. And, yeah. Oh, here's a nice sign we should look at. Sensitive habitat, restoration in progress. We are working to restore a coastal serpentine scrub plant community. This is exactly what I was talking about. This unique assemblage of plants that only really grows on serpentine like this, serpentinite. Really cool coastal rocks. These rare plants provide habitat for birds and other wildlife and will offer a beautiful floral display. This plant community has adapted to the extreme wind, salt spray, and steep slopes of the bluffs, yet is easily destroyed by trampling. You can help protect this fragile ecosystem by staying on the trail. Well, there we go. And it seems a lot of people are not heeding this warning. And they've just carved a trail right there. I don't know. Some people are just selfish and annoying. And, yeah, I don't know. How do you guard against that kind of thing? I like to think education can play a role. As somebody who does science outreach all the time, is really bugged by that kind of thing. I like to think that I'm in some small way helping to make the world a better place and helping to make people less selfish and annoying. But I don't know. I hope I'm not being annoying by saying that. Let's continue. We're gonna go up this way, I guess. To the beach? Oh, it's gonna be a long walk that way. Yeah, that way, and then there should be a trail that'll go down to Marshall's Beach. Yeah, Marshall's Beach is the closest one to the bridge.
Oh.
And then further down, you'll see Baker Beach, too. Baker Beach is much larger.
And to get to the naked beach,
Yeah, that's Marshall's Beach,
so we have to
the close one. So you got to go this way, and there should be stairs or like a trail down. But you might walk maybe half a mile that way, like a kilometer or something, yeah.
we better gonna be with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to get back to go walk across the bridge. I think I might have to go up this way.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good luck. Did you catch that? He's like, oh, find the beach. Oh, there's somebody walking on that trail that's not a trail. Tis. Anyway, we'll go up this way. We'll take a left right here. And this is how we get back to the bridge. Excellent. And there you go. Yeah, Arle. Good to see you. Yeah, we were going to do a Marine Mammal Center stream today, but there was just no signal. It was not going to work. So here we are, Plan B, or rather Plan C, because I was going to go stream from the Bay model in Sausalito, but they're closed today. So Golden Gate Bridge it is. And couldn't they paint the bridge golden? It's not what the name Golden Gate means. As I was explaining earlier, it was called the Golden Gate before there was ever a bridge, because this was the gateway to the gold rush, to gold country. People would sail in through the Golden Gate Street into San Francisco Bay, and so it was called the Golden Gate. Only, nearly a century later was the bridge built. So this area was known as the Golden Gate. Right there, that opening from the Pacific Ocean. The Golden Gate. Long before, decades before, nearly a century before a bridge was built. Are we getting glitching? Is the signal cutting out or something? What are people talking about? Let's see. Got 9,000 kilobits per second. We should be doing pretty well here. It's the best signal I've had since I started doing IRL streams. Might have a wire getting weird. Okay, interesting. Here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the camera real quick and turn it back on. We'll see if that solves the problem. Hang on just a sec. Let me check my connections here. It's looking good. Yeah. Anyway, we back now? Hopefully we're back. Let me know. I think we want to be on the outside here, and bicycles go on the inside. We're back. Good, good, good. Yeah. So that was just the camera disconnecting for some reason. Anyway, we're back. Go ahead and go under the bridge, and then walk a little bit toward Chrissy Field. Then we'll go walk back across the bridge and wrap up the stream in, I don't know, a little less than an hour. Yeah. And that hissing sound by all that pipe, all those pipes, is not the most reassuring noise. Oh, in case you don't recognize that, they've got a lovely sign here. Yes, this is indeed the Golden Gate Bridge. Have you ever seen the bridge painters in action? I have, Casey Snowart, yeah. Yeah, on scaffolding, on the bridge. They're always there, pretty much. I don't know if they take days off. I feel like it's a constant thing. If we look closely, we might even be able to spot them. Oh, and I love how the bay is clearing up too. Some of that fog is going away. Really nice clear view of Alcatraz and the Bay Bridge over there to the right of Alcatraz. Some big old barges in the center of the bay. They were doing some dredging this morning as I was driving across the Bay Bridge. Since this is like an active system, you've got all of these, streams coming down from the Sierras, and they've got sediment loads in them. They're bringing lots and lots of sediment with them, and then a lot of it gets dumped out into San Francisco Bay. And so in order to maintain the shipping channels and stuff, they've got to constantly dredge out all this muck from the bay floor in order to keep the bay deep enough for some of these big tanker ships and container ships and stuff like that. I used to live right next door to a big old processing plant for a lot of that dredge material. It was pretty noisy. It's really nice that bicycle tourism is such a thing here in San Francisco, but at the same time, you get people who clearly haven't been on a bicycle in 20 years, and they're just running into everybody and not going in the bike lanes that are designated for bicycles. Let's hope they figure it out before they hurt themselves or hurt somebody else. What do they process the dredge into, Smarfay? So some of that is used for fertilizer. Some of it gets dumped in other areas where they're filling in certain parts of the bay, trying to build on it. And some of it just gets brought out into the Pacific Ocean and dumped. Yeah. There's a neat story that I listened to about this with eelgrass and these other seagrasses like that that require sediment. And there were some ecologists who were able to convince the Army Corps of Engineers to bring some of that dredge material over and dump it in a certain spot in order to try and help the eelgrass thrive there. So eelgrass is one of those cornerstone species. When you've got the eelgrass thriving, then you get lots of little fishes and invertebrates. You get marine mammals, you get skates and rays and sharks. Everybody just loves the eelgrass like that. That's the basis of the entire habitat. If the eelgrass disappears, all those other critters disappear as well. So it's really, really important. And there goes Smartfay, yeah. And Beats International. Thankfully, there's a big net under the bridge now, so if any bicycle tourists, you know, just on vacation from Iowa, if they go over the side of the bridge, then hopefully the net will catch them. And there you go, Pursue, yeah. An interesting gay hibiscus. Huh. Cornerstone species is... I know that's always seemed kind of a little oversimplified to me. But, yeah, that makes sense that, you know, when you use a term like that, you're losing a lot of the nuance, I suppose. We'll go just a little bit further and we'll turn around and go across the bridge again. And we'll try not to get hit by a bike in here. Here we go, this is what I was looking for. Nice little trails off to the sides. Battery East Trailhead. So I think if you follow either of these, it'll take us down to Crissy Field. Crissy Field is so called because it was an airfield. It was a really important airfield in the early days of aviation. You would get these old biplanes and stuff taken off from Crissy Field and flying over the bridge and all over the place. I think it was also an Army Air Corps air base at some point. What a gorgeous day. We got more sensitive habitat over here. This area was planted with a mix of native plants, once common in San Francisco's formerly extensive coastal scrub. A lot of that was, you know, grew over the sand dunes, like I was telling you about. These plants will offer a beautiful floral display as well as habitat for birds and other wildlife. Please help these plants flourish by not disturbing the planted area. Oh yeah, poison oak, do not touch. That doesn't look like poison oak, but this is poison oak, however. Yeah. See those 3 red leaves? As the old... Let it be. Leaves of 4, eat some more. Oh, man. But yeah, go down there. San Francisco, you can kind of see, I forget what that particular fort is called. Fort Baker, maybe? Beyond that, you see the tower of the New Bay Bridge. Oh, and we got a helicopter coming our way as well. Looks like a Coast Guard chopper, perhaps. Yeah. Let's see if it's that same international orange color like we were talking about. It is. Any helicopter experts in the chat? Wow. Retractable landing gear. Yeah. The orange color, that's international orange. Just like the bridge. Very nice. Lovely. Francisco Bay out there. Not the blue and gold fleet, but the other one. I forget what they're called. And then I even see some sea lions frolicking on the water down there. You're probably not going to be able to pick them up in the camera, but they're all over the place. Yeah. Lovely. Right, so we're going to go walk back across the bridge now. Just kidding, I didn't actually eat it. Now there's kids watching. Don't eat poison oak, you'll have a very bad day. And I'd be very upset with you too. Don't actually eat that. Hey, Dinosaur Dave, how are you doing? Dinosaur Dave was also previously recorded, in case anybody didn't realize. It's all been pre-programmed. Alright. I don't think this is going to take us straight there, so we'll just take the normal path. Back up to the bridge. The camera's glitching the same way again? Sorry, I don't think there's much I can do about that. Yeah. Here, let me restart the camera. We'll see if that helps at all. Give me just a second here. A right angle connector for those cables coming out of the battery. I feel like that should help with connectivity a little bit if it ever gets stressed. Yeah. Looks and sounds good. Thanks, Casey. Yeah. Another helicopter over there too. What's going on here? Waiting for signal to show up again. There we go. Okay. I think we're good. Yeah. Alright, let's go this way. Let's go walk back across the bridge. For anybody just joining us, welcome to Paleontologizing. Welcome to San Francisco. This is where I live, in the Bay Area. Golden Gate Bridge behind us. And yeah, we're just kind of talking about the wonders of the Bay Area. Geological, climatological, zoological, and botanical wonders there. It's just a gorgeous day, and I'm really glad you can come along. If it's your very first time, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. And we don't have a whole lot of dinosaur fossils here in California, especially not in the Bay Area. But this is where I live and where I work, and during the summers, I'm out in Wyoming and Utah, some of those Montana areas like that, out digging dinosaurs. But it's not summertime right now. We're coming up on autumn, so I'm back home. We'll be doing some really cool office streams coming up, going over new fossil critters, newly published dinosaurs, new scientific papers, interviewing other paleontologists and doing 3D printing and 3D modeling and sculpting and all kinds of stuff like that. But we've got today and tomorrow's worth of mobile data to use, so we're making the most of it. We're going to go walk back across the Golden Gate Bridge. And Chrono Monkey says, how come you go to those areas when it's the hottest part of the year? Because that's the only time when there's no school. That's the biggest part of it. We rely on a lot of student volunteering, like student volunteer labor, and students can't be out there when they're in school, you know? So that's a big part of it. It's the academic calendar, as Jim Kirkland always says. And Crimson Carnotaurus says, are many mammal fossils, like the Pleistocene samples in La Brea, known from San Francisco? We've got a few. There's a fossil walrus from San Francisco, but most of the stuff that we have here, most of the Pleistocene mammals are going to be terrestrial. So we've got ground sloths and bison and critters like that from San Francisco proper and from the area at large. Not a lot of marine stuff. Most of the marine rocks that we have here are like non-sedimentary. Gonna get louder. Oh, the pelicans over there. Native white pelicans in California, but there are a few that I might be able to show you at some point that were introduced there. There's San Francisco off over there, downtown with all the buildings. Be all wonky again. I can try and unplug it, plug it back in. We'll see if that helps. Give me a sec. Let's see if we can get this to work. Hang on. It's gonna cut out for a minute. Bear with me. Anything? Can you see me? Back invisible audible. Thank you, Casey Snowart. Let's see if that did it. I just unseated the plugs back in. Time I jostle it, does the thing. Well, shoot, it's holding all the cables firmly in place. It shouldn't be that. I think it might be the signal. Like, I think it might just be the cell signal. I don't know if it's a cable thing. There. We're working here off of wireless data, you know, like cellular network. And I wouldn't be shocked if, like, the bridge is interfering with that. Maybe these slats have something to do with it. I don't know. I'll let these bicyclists go by. Some sort of marine mammal down here. Let's see if we can take a look. I'm not seeing anybody. Huh. Dinosaur Dave says, look up a bit for us, Danny, at the height of the bridge. Yeah, 749 feet tall, those towers. Very impressive. They were the tallest bridge towers in the world when this was built. Like we were talking about earlier. Pumpkin cakes. I've not seen the painting crew around. Probably somewhere. It's a long bridge. We might need to swap out the camera at some point. This one is not cooperating in the way that it should be. Anyway, let's keep going. This is the South Tower over here. So this one is the one where the base of it, the big concrete structure underneath, is built from the bay floor rather than from land. In order to do that, they had to like sink this giant cylinder down into there and then pump the water out. And they had special like plans that they had to come up with how to get the concrete to dry in such a wet environment. All of these different design challenges that they had to conquer before this project would work. And that's one of those critical components, you know? If you can't get this tower of the bridge to work, then nothing works. There we go. Pretty impressive. 749 feet tall. It's a modern wonder. pretty incredible. A caisson, I think that is what it's called, Clever, yeah. Anyway, let's continue on. Try not to get run over by a bicycle. We're good. How about that? Totally agree, yeah. Golden Gate Bridge is unique in its placement and its design and its coloration. Just, there are bridges that are more superlative on paper. I don't think any of them are nearly as beautiful as the Golden Gate Bridge.
Look at how thick those are. Holy cow. And you can see right there where some of the paint has come off. It's the robusticity of those cables. It's truly impressive. It really is.
Got a really nice view of the city up here too, I'll show you. Let's get on the other side of this pole.
There we go. Downtown San Francisco over there. You see Coit Tower up on Telegraph Hill. The financial district with all those high-rise buildings. The Palace of Fine Arts. Looks like it's straight from the planet Naboo right there. And Crissy Field down there. Oh.
It's good to be home. We've got crew down there working on removing corrosion from the net. Cool. Hard-working folks. That should do it, I hope. Okay, good. Sorry about that. If it's not one thing, it's another. There's cameras jostling, there's signal dropping, there's the Live View app just reset itself for no reason. Anywho, we're back. Anyway, let's keep it going.
Some pelicans flying overhead.
Very nice. Just look at this. Just gorgeous, you know? Pretty cool. Oh, and Ava Little, I've looked into that before. They no longer have a press penny machine there. That's outdated information. You're probably looking at the pennypresses.com site. That has a lot of ones that are now extinct. If you go to the pennycollector.com site, their list is updated more frequently, and yeah. Their machines that they used to have here, I think, are now at Pier 45, at Museum Mécanique. But they're no longer at the south end of the bridge. Yeah. And Ricky WSF, I thought I remembered the SF in your name was for San Francisco. Yeah. Well, welcome back. Just getting up on halfway across here. Sounds like there's some work going on this.
Reverberation in there. There's the North Tower.
How lucky are we today, you know? Try to never forget it. we can't see the Farallones today. It's too hazy out there. But even if I could see them, there's, I think, scant little chance you'd be able to see through the camera. So I'm focusing on some stuff a little bit closer focal length here. Now I'm pretty sure when we get up to one of these street lights that the shroud on them is supposed to act like a fog light. You know, like the fog lights on your car are kind of a more yellow hue than your regular headlights. More saturated, much more yellow. Pretty sure that's what's up with these street lights as well on the bridge. Check it out. That bright yellow hue like that. I'm pretty sure that's so that the light is, you know, it cuts through the fog better. Like the fog lights on your car. I wanted to point this out too. This is why they need to constantly paint the bridge. You get this harsh sea air full of salt, and these things can just rust through like that. So that's what you're trying to avoid with keeping the bridge maintained and keeping it painted at all times. This is what you're trying to prevent. Luckily, that's not really a structural part. We've got more here too. The ocean, it's relentless, just this engine of entropy. Pretty cool. Just wanted to stop for a second. Take another view of the bay. Just drink it in. Just beautiful, you know? Over there is the Pacific Ocean. So far enough that way, you hit Japan, you hit China, you hit Vietnam. To the east, we have California, San Francisco down here, Alcatraz Island, Oakland and Berkeley and Richmond, and to the north, Sausalito. I think Ricky WSF was pointing out Angel Island earlier. That is indeed Angel Island right there. If we have any Star Trek fans in the chat, I think this is supposed to be where Starfleet is. The Marine Islands. Gorgeous. I know I keep saying that, but oh, up there, Travis Air Base. Hopefully you can make it out. That's a big C-3 Globe or something like that. Big old military cargo plane up there. We're heading up
toward Travis Air Force Base in Fairfield, I would imagine. So we're going to be crossing the county line in just a minute. San Francisco to Marin County. That'll be right up here at the North Tower. Here, let me check my wiring for a second. Hang on just a minute. There we go. Let's see if that's any better. Okay, let's see if that improves things. What kind of glitch are we getting? What are you talking about, everybody? Okay, we should be good. Say center better not. I changed. Kitty, it's just it's
heck? Okay. Yeah, it's got to be just the bridge itself, I think, is probably interfering with the signal somehow. Okay. And that makes sense, Pontius Pilot. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, actually. The glitches are mostly happening when I'm in motion. Doing my best to be as narrow as possible. Bicyclists and people around me. Anyway, how are we doing right now? Is the signal okay? Finally got some room to breathe over here. Very good now. Excellent. Good, good, good. These are like brand new wires. There's nothing failing with the wires or anything like that. I think it's just interference from the bridge. And yeah, I actually wouldn't be shocked if there's like transmission equipment on the bridge itself. That's this massive metallic structure. Should be really, really good at transmitting. I wonder if they're like cellular networks that pay to have their signal put out by the bridge or something. I would not be shocked if that were the case and we're just getting interference. Anyway, one last look out here at beautiful San Francisco Bay. There's Alcatraz straight ahead. Not this one, I'm talking about that one up there. Alcatraz. Something tells me this one would be a bit easier to escape from. Angel Island off over there. This is Sausalito that we're walking toward. There's the city we just came from. And the Bay Bridge, you can see both halves of the Bay Bridge now. You've got the western span, which was built back in the 30s, and the new eastern span was just completed around 2017 or so. Maybe, I don't know the exact date, but when I moved back to California, it was newly completed back in like 2018. And then you've got the East Bay over there. That's where I live. Richmond and Berkeley and Oakland. And you can just see the very tip of Mount Diablo poking up over there, over the horizon. That really faint mountaintop is Mount Diablo over in Contra Costa County. Beautiful.
So long ago, this was part of the military base down here. And they still have, I think those are Coast Guard vessels. Those little gray boats that you see with all the instrumentation on top. Coast Guard vessels. I think like Coast Guard patrol boats. Very nice, and like my dad was saying, there's Robin Williams Tunnel up there. All my students would call it the Rainbow Tunnel. It's painted in rainbow. It's pretty cool. And I'll probably go through that on my way home. And freelancers today, kind of jealous. Here in the Netherlands, you can wear out winter jackets. Yeah. It's actually surprisingly hot today. People are complaining about the weather today in the Bay Area. I think we might be under a heat advisory. Warmer than it used to be at this time of year. I'm not going to complain. I think it's gorgeous. Let me check on the signal again because people are complaining about it. No, we should be good. I'm thirsty. Alright, special driving zone ends here. One more special regular driving zone. Another helicopter behind me. Lovely. Go on over here. Okay, can you see and hear me for the sign off here? Good, all right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you had as much fun as I did. But it is time to wrap things up so I can get home before it gets too crowded. Or too crowded on the road, so there's too much traffic. So let's see who else is live right now. Somebody give me a suggestion for a raid. Somebody who raided in the past, hopefully. Let me know. And
Let's see. Thank you, Claire Burr. I appreciate that. Let's see. I'm gonna watch. And I lost signal. Oh, Diatom's attack. Okay. Raid. Diatom's attack. Good stuff. Alright. Well, everybody, there are actually a couple of other paleontologists on Twitch. One of them is Diatom's attack. He doesn't study dinosaurs, he studies diatoms. These lovely photosynthetic microorganisms. They're kind of like algae, but they were extraordinarily important, and they are teeming throughout San Francisco Bay. So maybe ask him about that. Let's see, did that work? I can't tell if our raid went through. It's not telling me. Oh, good. Okay, it is going. And they have the SEM today, scanning electron microscope. That's awesome. Well, well, well. That's going to be really cool. Everybody, thank you so much for your viewership, for your questions, for your patience as we lost signal a few times there. And thank you for your financial support. You're the reason these streams are possible, so thank you very, very much for that. Hopefully we'll have one more IRL stream tomorrow before our mobile data expires. So we'll got to figure out what that is, but it should be fun. I hope you'll tune in then. Everybody, till next time, you all take care of yourselves, and see you later. Bye-bye.